Hey folks, Brandon Schaefer here. I have a whiteboard in front of me here, and I just want to plan out, or explain rather, some simple compositional rules and guidelines for you guys. It may be repetitive for some people that follow me on the painting, but I had to add this into the drawing because it's really important. So let's get started. Alright, so one of the first things you want to realize is the rule of thirds. So imagine if this is your sheet of paper, or your canvas, or whatever you're working on. You want to divide it into thirds using imaginary lines. So wherever you would fold it to make it into thirds, just think about folding the paper. But don't actually do it, just these are imaginary lines in your head. So now it's divided into thirds, and you also want to divide it into thirds horizontally. So, there you go. That's the rule of thirds. Now what does this do? Well, it gives you now where the lines intersect. So they intersect here, 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 and here. Those are called points of interest. Now that's where you want, generally, that's where you want your composition to have interest. For example, let's say you're doing, you're painting a tree on a landscape. So you could have the land be down here or right on the third, wherever you want it. And now it comes to the point of interest is the tree. That's the focal point of the piece is going to be the tree. Somebody without knowledge of the rule of thirds, they may put the tree right here. Now that can be fine. There's a little tree. Okay, no big deal. But it's not that interesting. It can be a nice composition, maybe if the land's going down, it'll be a triangular composition. Now that's something different, but this is really too simple. So what can you do to make it more interesting? Well, let's get rid of this tree and maybe just slide it over onto a line of thirds. And put the tree here. Reaching up or wherever it's going to be. Maybe it's reaching out this way. Whatever kind of tree. Now that is way more appealing. It's kind of has this, it gives it kind of a balance. And maybe you can have hills off in the distance and have the peak coming up over on this third. So that the eye kind of has this, it has this flow. So that's the very, very basic, simple rule of thirds, is that you just want the interest to be on these points. And another thing you can do, actually what I just showed you here, is to have the interest be on one point over here, and then diagonally have another point of interest, something going on in this general area. This general area. So that there's this dynamic between them. So I kind of just showed that here. So let's get rid of this. And now that we know the rule of thirds, it could be for anything. It makes it even if you're doing photography is where it really comes in handy. I took a photo of a flower once that was sitting on my jeans. And what I did, I could have had the flower dead center. It was kind of one of these flowers. Now this is just really quick drawing, folks. Let's say you just have a flower, just the top of it, no stem or anything. Now you could have a dead center like that. But is that really appealing? Not really. So what we want to do is move this flower, maybe scale it down a little bit, and we could put it right here. Have the center of that flower be on that point of interest. And then, it's a lot more appealing to have it move down somewhere. It kind of it forces the eye to just flow that way. It has these flowing lines. You know, when it's dead center, it's kind of just bland. But see, now you have room for all this other, whatever you want. You know, it could be anything. You could have another flower up here, and then one up here or something. So you have this triangular kind of movement. I mean, endless possibilities. I just want to show you guys the rule of thirds, and that it doesn't always follow that, but look at a lot of artwork. Also, another example, and it's usually used, let's change the orientation here to a portrait and not a landscape. So if we have a portrait of a person, now usually if you look at the old portraits of like presidents and other famous people, they're usually dead center or off to the side just a little bit. Now you can have the person's shoulders coming like this, and here's the neck, and the head's going to be up here. Well, one thing you should look for that you'll notice in all of these portraits is that the eye line is almost always on this third. So their eyes are always just about on the third. It's very interesting. Now they can be dead center, so sometimes you have to break the rules. You can break the rules, but it's good to know the guidelines. And you know, because sometimes they're off to on this third, and then the eyes are on this third. But the thing with portraits is the head, the point of interest, the focal point is on a third, whether it's this third or this third. So that's what I want you guys to realize. You know, so just look at old paintings and drawings and see how people use this. Look at artists that inspire you and see how they use composition, and just break down their shapes. You know, some compositions are like this. It's a triangular composition. There's a lot of old classical paintings that have that. It's all this tension, and it's just, it builds up. You know, there's a bunch of people over here, and then there's like clouds, or you know, whatever the scene is, you know, a cliff. But they use this triangular kind of composition to lead the eye somewhere. So that can be really interesting. Also, one other shape you can look for is kind of this S kind of curve, in many different forms, in many different ways. It just kind of, you know, gets the eye flowing back. There could be mountains up here in the back, and then like a trail leading down, you know, a bunch of trees or another hill, mountain, and it's just kind of this snaking kind of thing, you know. So there's so much to do with that. So I just encourage you to look at some photographs, look at paintings and drawings, and break down the composition. You know, if someone does a tree, you know, just break down their simple shape. Like, okay, there's a tree there, and then they did mountains back here, and clouds up here. And maybe it's not the best composition. Maybe it is. What makes it appealing to you? Figure out what it is, and then incorporate that into your own work. So, you know, maybe they put an object on this third, and then they have the mountains. You know, the horizon line was right on this third. So maybe you should try doing that. You know, try making your horizon line directly on a third, or directly split in half. Which way is more appealing? You know, it's something to play around with and to figure out what makes an image appealing. That's really one of the biggest questions you want to ask yourself when you're drawing or painting, and when you're learning to draw, is that once you get the technical aspect down of sketching and drawing, and you know, drawing spheres and figuring everything out, once you get all these technical abilities down, you know, shading, all this stuff, is to start asking yourself what makes an image look appealing? You know, this is right on a third, right on a third. And break it down compositionally. And to start learning those guidelines and start learning what is appealing to you and what is appealing to the masses and what you want your artwork to look like. So I hope this video was helpful. I'm not going to go into too much more and bore you to death. But hopefully you understand the rule of thirds. You know, look into it some more and check out some older artwork and see how they used the rule of thirds, see how they used composition, see how they used darks and lights and shading and shadows. And you know, the best time of day to draw or paint is usually early in the morning or in the evening when the shadows are really long. Things like that. Just dissect paintings and drawings and then incorporate it into your own work. I've said it so many times, but if you're new, if you're just now getting to this series, you know, that was a little bit of composition there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you'd appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care of yourself. Peace.